Hello friends, this is Dr. Amarjit Kaur, Professor of Accounting and Business Communication at the Department of Management, Gurugram University, Gurugram. This is my privilege that I am here with you to talk about audience analysis. We are going to discuss about importance and the steps which we take for audience analysis. So friends, as the name suggests, audience analysis is a process or a method where we analyze our audience for any kind of communication, for personal use, for business use. If I have to go and speak to a future prospect, for marriage, you are going to talk to somebody, you are going to meet somebody. So here, that person becomes your audience. You have to think what kind of questions he or she may have, the prospective partner, right? What is more important, what kind of background he or she comes from, what kind of values the person may have, what kind of needs the person may have, what kind of questions the person may have, right? So you will design your conversation. It could be simply an oral communication, unstructured one. But if you really think about all this question, and if you are actually thinking, what are you doing is you are doing audience analysis, right? Your audience is just one person, the prospective spouse for you. So this is the example where we are doing audience analysis in personal life. We do audience analysis in business life as well, and that is of more concern to me here in this discussion. In that case, we are analyzing the customer for a business, the existing customer, the future customer, what kind of problems they have, what kind of wants they have, the needs they have, what kind of media do they prefer. So we are doing this analysis in a structured manner. So gathering information about audience, be in the personal life or in the business, it is actually called audience analysis. Okay, so our discussion is about importance of audience analysis and about the steps we take in audience analysis. So importance of audience analysis: number 1, improving accessibility; number 2, learning audience expectations; number 3, identifying barriers or facilitators; number 4, improving customers' experience. So these are the 4 points under importance. So let me discuss this. First one, improving accessibility. So let's say a particular product company is selling and it is available only on cash on delivery, or it is available only certain part of or certain areas. So it is not delivered in all the areas. So, in the surroundings. So if we gather information through audience analysis, the company can actually improve the accessibility of that product. Let's say a car is distributed through the distributors, and there are distributors, which are located, let's say, about 10 kilometers from each or 7 kilometers from each. So now company gathers information from the audience and gets to know there are people who are coming far from away places, and the commuting time for them is so much that this becomes a kind of difficulty. That's why they are not buying your car, they are rather going to other showrooms and some other brand for which the distributors have more number of distributor centers or the showrooms, and the car models are available for review, right? So it becomes a question to be addressed. It is an important part which is being actually gathered through gathering the information from the customers, the existing customers, from general market survey, right? So the problem was the accessibility of any particular make of car, and customers were facing problem, and the other makers were able to sell more car in that area because they have more distribution channel. And that, just I'm giving an example, right? It could be any other product or day-to-day use product, certain food items. There are very good restaurants who are not delivering to particular area, right? It could be logistics issue for them, but a business can really improve the accessibility of the product or the services to the customers if they gather information on the accessibility. How many days does it take? If they send it through this channel, if it has been delivered online, if it has been distributed through retail, so if these informations are gathered, the accessibility can be improved. The second point was a business can learn about the expectation of audience. So learning audience expectation. How come? If we go to eat at a restaurant, simple. Most of the good restaurant will give you a feedback form. They will either bring their mobile, their laptop, their some kind of gadget, or they will simply bring a piece of paper where there are printed questions, structured questions, and they would like to know how was your experience, how were the services, how was the food quality, how was the ambience, etc., etc. Any suggestions for improvement. And if they analyze those responses which they gathered from the customers, they will get to know what are they expecting. Food was very good, but there was delay in service. Service was very good, but the food was very spicy. The food quality was not as expected. There was delay. There was so much waiting time. The ambience was not great. The room temperature was not good. Prices are so high. Anything audience may, so they may express. So you can get to know the expectations they have. So so if it is gathered that out of 50 responses, 30 spoke about high prices. So it means the customers are expecting that product to be delivered at a lower price than what is priced at. So company need to review at the price. Can company change the price or reduce the prices with the same quality, or company need to change the raw material to bring a change in the product altogether and to bring the change in the cost so that company could sell at a lower price, right? So even this is the importance of audience expectation, and that is applicable in personal life as well. If I'm a professor and I'm going to deliver a lecture in any conference, I should know what kind of audience I would have. Am I addressing students? Am I addressing research scholars? Am I addressing professors, teachers from across the world? Am I addressing the teachers from within the country, from within the state, or from overseas? So I should know my audience and what are they expecting. Are they expecting to learn X part or Y part of the concept, right? I need to know. So audience analysis is not just only for businesses, right? So we can get to know the expectation of audience through this audience analysis. The third point, as I said, was identifying barriers or facilitators. So here the barriers to reach out to customers, barriers to deliver the product, barrier to extend good quality services. So all kind of barriers, or in other ways, what are those points which facilitate the service better, which facilitate the distribution better, which facilitate the experience better for customers, right? All those aspects. So they can be analyzed very well through audience analysis. This is a very important point, because a product can be really sold very well if company knows the barriers which are coming in the sales. If company knows how to facilitate a better experience for a customer, right? So identifying those barriers is possible only through the audience analysis. I was quoting the example, if you make a call to any service center and most of the service center would have a recorded message saying that your call is going to be recorded for quality purposes. So why? Because they are trying to figure out what was the most important point in terms of difficulty, because most of the customers would be reaching out to the customer care center if they are facing problem, right? So the barriers can be studied very well, the facilitators can be studied very well through audience analysis. The fourth point in the importance is that customers' overall experience can be improved. If we know the barriers, if we know the expectations, if we know the accessibility, everything been taken care through audience analysis, it is going to lead to the overall improvement in the experience of customer, isn't it? So the customer's experience can go very well, can get improved for sure if the audience analysis is being carried out very well. Okay, so these are the points under importance of audience analysis. Now I would like to talk about that how can one conduct an audience analysis. In other ways, I am going to discuss steps which are involved in audience analysis. So the first step is identify your prospective audience. Step 2 is select the priority audience. Step 3 is identifying characteristics of priority audience. Step 4 is create your analysis tool. Step 5 is determine voluntarily buying versus need. Step 6 is collect results. Step 7 is analyze your results. And the last and the 8th step is decide action point or communication. So now I will be discussing all these points in detail. So the first step is identify your prospective audience. So you have to carry audience analysis. You decided to do that. So first thing would be and should be in your mind that who are my audience? Unless you know that and unless you know it very well, it's just not that knowing it correctly, knowing it very well is important. So unless you know who your audience are, your prospective audience are, you cannot actually carry an audience analysis effectively, right? So how would you do that? Let's say company is selling, a business is selling 8 products, right? If I'm trying to review the prices of all the products, then the total customer base, whichever I have for my products of existing customer, become my prospective audience, along with few more people who are not my audience to know their expectation, right? Company may decide to go only with the existing database, existing customer of the company to get a feel about the opinion or their concern on the pricing, or company may like to study the existing audience along with the all the people they think they would be their future buyers, right? The prospective audience. If company wants to do the study on quality, services, quality, etc., of course my existing customers are the best one, because they are the ones who already have bought my product or services. They are experiencing the quality of product or services, right? So you identify the prospective audience. That is the first thing. You have the total whole, which you can do maximum level at, for example. Out of them, you may decide to go for X number of audience, because my overall audience is my population, right? Out of that population, it's not practically possible to reach out to all of them. I need to select a certain data set which will be from that population, right? So let's say if I have 1 lakh customers in total, right? It's not practically possible to reach out to all the 1 lakh customers a company has. Company may choose basis on certain logic, of course, certain people, let's say 2,000, 5,000, maybe 10,000 people whom company would like to reach. So they become my priority audience. Now how would you decide priority as this in step number 2? I would like to know the priority, the people who just have bought and exited from my product, who did not make a repeat sale or purchase, in fact, from the customer's perspective. The people who purchased in the past but did not come back next month, next quarter, etc., etc. So they are the ones who did not buy your product after buying it once. They are the ones who will give you best feedback, because they may have concern on the specification, the quality of the product, the pricing, the accessibility of the product, or any such thing, right? So they become my priority audience. But if you have to launch a product and your product deals with or the need of youngsters, then the people of the age group of, let's say, 15 to 20 or 18 to 25, they become your audience, right? So your priority audience would be based on the need of your analysis. Are you analyzing from to face some, because you are facing some problem, or you are analyzing because you want to launch a product, you are analyzing because you want to expand, or you want to shrink your operations, right? So it all depends the overall objective, but make sure that you select your priority audience, because it may not be possible to analyze the complete audience set. The third step here is identifying characteristics of priority audience. So after you decided that this is the respondent base I am going to use for my audience analysis, then you need to find out the characteristics of those priority audience, those respondents. Which kind of age group are they in, right? What kind of languages do they prefer? Which are the cities they live in? Which medium would be more effective? Because you have to reach out to them, and your content, your language of the content, format of the content, the medium to reach out to them, everything will be based on the characteristics of your audience, which are your priority audience, which you decided at step number 2. Right. So step number 3 is to further analyze characteristics of the audience which are priority to you, right? So that's what we call it as identifying characteristics of priority audience, and that will lead to create your analysis tool, because you have to, at the end of the day, your purpose is to analyze customers, to analyze your audience, right, for presentation, for communication. If you are creating a brochure, you are actually communicating. If you are creating a presentation, you are actually communicating, right? You may be presenting a report on a new project you completed to your team, entire team, right? So the team becomes your audience. It's just not the customers all the time, right? And you should be knowing that in that team, what kind of people I have. Let's say team of 20 people, 5 are Asians, 2 are from Europe, 2 are from North America. So you need to know which language would be, if you have to make a presentation, which language is the most understand or spoken language amongst that priority group, right, which you have selected as your audience, which are your audience by compulsion even, right? So step number 4, which is to create your analysis tool, is based upon the step number 3. So step number 5 is that you should determine the voluntarily and buying versus the need. So what does it mean? It means that when you are analyzing customers, and especially the audience who are customers, or then how much out of those customers they are buying by their choice, and how many of them are buying by compulsion. Somebody opened a store, let's say, right, and they hired one analyst who was given a job to analyze the audience, that is the customers who visited on day 1, and he or she is just observing the behavior by observation method. So the tool is being decided by the company as observation method, no questionnaire, no flyer, no brochure, etc. So what will happen? There are guests who are the family and friends of the owner. There are guests who are just coming randomly, but they are not known to the company, owner or company people, but they are just coming out of the ad which was created. Right. Now this guy who is analyst here, who is analyzing the response of audience, he is trying to figure out that how many of them who bought the product or the service were buying out of choice, and how many of were buying, just or they just have need. They didn't buy voluntarily, right? So he will be studying. People, they were not asked, but they just wanted to buy. They bought it. They expressed gratitude. They expressed, wow, we were looking for this. So through the observation method, right? So how much out of the sales which was made on day one was voluntarily, was by choice. There was no compulsion. And how many of them were just because there was a need to them, because they need to, show that they are the part of the family. They had the need to express the gratitude they invited to the owner who invited him or her. There was kind of compulsion, right? So this can be analyzed through the audience analysis. So this is the next step in the overall audience analysis. The next step would be collect results. Once we have decided the tools, we have analyzed the data, here we are going to collect the results in terms of summaries, in terms of graphs, in terms of numbers, in terms of pictures. So you will collect the results which are most understandable to you who is analyzing customers data, right, the audience data. So we will collect the result in terms of feedback, that how bad or you were, in actually deciding the tool. And thereafter you will analyze your results. Once you have collated the results, that these many people responded, these many people from male who responded, these are the females who responded, these are the people who responded to question number 1 or question number 2 or to flyer or to sales. So now you are analyzing those results, because now you are linking it with some kind of conclusion. You are trying to draw some conclusion. My sale has gone up, see, because of this factor, so which came up as a part of the result. My sale has gone down because of this factor. My response was, to the new launch was good because of this factor. So you are analyzing your results. And lastly, you decide the action point, or how would you communicate. That is the real outcome. Basis on your analysis of the results you gather through an audience analysis, you finally decide that this is my action point, that I have to correct the product, I have to correct the service, I have to correct specification, I have to correct the communication means. So you can correct anything, any decision would be taken, and these are the steps which really are always taken or should be taken during audience analysis. I hope I was able to explain it to you, and I really appreciate your presence with me. Thank you very much. I would like to sign off now. Thank you.